We're so honored to have you on with us today because oh my goodness, what a movie. This has been so much fun for everybody to get to discover, but also it's picking up on all the award stuff and you're up against some really big ones. So this has got to be such a really great time for you and such a great thing for the film.
Yeah, it's been very exciting week with a lot of news, very good news.
Yes, absolutely. Well, of course, you knew you had something special, but these things take a very long time, longer than most people would like to put together. So, how long did this take to put together, and how many people did you have working on this thing?
Everything was 5 years, which is, I would say, like an average for an animated feature. But that time includes like writing the script, developing the film, looking for funding. The actual production was maybe like 1 year, so it was fairly like short production, and altogether, like the all the creative production team is about like 45 people.
Hmm. Wow. And then, of course, you started to screen it for people. At what point? I mean, of course, it was always special, but at what point did you realize that, oh wow, this is really sort of picked up a whole lot of steam, and a lot of people are going to love this.
Yeah, well, we finished this film basically a few days before going to Cannes Film Festival in May. So we'd never even watched it with a general audience, only with our team, who's maybe like not the most objective audience, and so it was actually the first time watching it in Cannes, and you could really sense the emotion, and you could sense that people were laughing at the right moments, which was a big relief. And yeah, but yeah, once we got like selected in Cannes, and that was like yeah, a big moment for us because they almost never select animation in competition, and so everything kind of after that we've been like really lucky with so many festivals and awards, and it's being shown in all over the world and like theatrically, which is really exciting.
Do you remember the animated film that was sort of maybe the bug that bit you, maybe when you were a kid or otherwise, that you just kind of looked at the screen and thought, I think I want to do this.
Um, I don't think it was an animated film. It
Hmm.
was maybe like a film in general, which because I kind of consider myself more as a filmmaker than an animator.
Yeah.
And Flow, I would just like design the shots and kind of the overall storytelling and the lighting, and these principles are basically the same as any kind of film. I didn't actually animate the characters myself, so yeah, the films that really kind of blew my mind, I would say. Well, I remember watching like some Kubrick films and Hitchcock films, Kurosawa, some more recent ones like Richard Linklater's films and Alfonso Cuarón and
Mhm.
uh, Paul Thomas Anderson.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, of course, filmmakers look up to what you do, and certainly will even more so now. What kind of advice would you give to somebody who wants to tell great stories?
Yeah, that's the key. It's about telling great stories. I think you shouldn't like um, spend too much time on like trying to make things like focus on the storytelling and not on the technical stuff. Uh, I kind of figure out that I can do that and I can leave the technical stuff to others and just focus on the emotion about kind of that's where I start. I kind of start with the emotion and then I kind of go backwards and figure out what kind of a setting, what kind of concept, how can I achieve this emotion. So it's about kind of creating this emotional experience and not just like telling a story for its own sake. It's really about kind of creating that emotional journey.
Hmm. Now, my co-host Drew Pearson is one of our great in American football, one of our great players, and he caught what's called the Hail Mary, and of course, now it's a big pop culture term. We just talk about throwing that Hail Mary, and which you may have heard of, but there's also the religious connotation. But I was curious to know your Hail Mary moment, that moment in your life or career where you just had to go for it and it worked out for you. What do you suppose that was for you?
So when I like took a big leap,
Yeah. Hmm.
um, with every film, it's like that. Like I don't know what I'm doing. I'm kind of figuring it out while I'm making the films, and like sometimes that's good that I don't know how difficult it will be. That I just kind of yeah, go for it, and it's good to be naive, to kind of yeah, just focus on like when I find a story that really like captivates me, that's really a great feeling, because when you do spend like 5 years in a film, you need to find something that really resonates with you, and in this case, it was a personal story. It was basically the story of me making this film itself, about kind of finding ways to collaborate and trust others, and so yeah, it's a long process. So and it's important, I think, to tell personal stories, to kind of open yourself up to people. I think people want to see that kind of honesty, where we're not trying to manipulate people, but just trying to like show what you feel is honest.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said. Of course, yeah, we part of that is that mindset that you have to have, success mindset that you kind of have to have, whether or not you're feeling it or not. And as creative types, we're hard on ourselves. So, what do you keep in mind that keeps you on the right path always?
Um, yeah, I don't know. It's just following that emotion, and just like trying to like strip it down from anything unnecessary. I like, yeah, what helps me to motivate myself is like I kind of spend like a year developing the film, and then I can't just like abandon it. I have to see it through. I get quite obsessed about things, but I can only focus on one film at a time, and so
Hmm.
it's kind of like it does become like a obsession, because I don't want to waste my time, and I
Yeah.
also like feel this responsibility about others. Like if we get the funding, I don't want to like waste the money we've received or other people's time. So I don't really like struggle with motivation. I always have this kind of drive to kind of see things through.
Hmm. And then of course, the story itself here, I think, like you said, resonates with you. What is it about it that you think is really kind of resonating now with audiences and with voters? Because it is very, very special.
Yeah, so we see the cat kind of struggling against its fears of this big flood. And yeah, so I guess you could see it as a real flood and people resonating it to it, but it could be like any kind of catastrophe, any kind of devastating event that kind of disrupts your life, that forces you to like leave your home, for example, or just like start your life from ground up, and kind of overcome your insecurities, or at least face them. So it could be any personal struggle, and so we try to show that some things can be overcome, but there are some bigger things in this world as well, that maybe like one person can't fix by themselves, but they can kind of learn to adapt to them and how to accept them and allow others to kind of support it. That's the cat's journey in this film. And so I wanted to kind of have like an ending that feels more honest, that doesn't just show everything, all the problems being solved and everything is perfect. And we tried to show that some things are improved, but some problems are still there, and I feel like maybe like people see that in their own lives as well.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And of course, it's a sort of a universal thing, and I think part of the beauty of it is that there's not, there's not the dialogue that we always see in the animated films, and the kind of typical trappings. But was there ever any discussion about that? Maybe having some voices in there.
No, there wasn't a discussion. This was like the initial pitch that it would be like a dialogue-free film, but it's not a silent film. There's voices, and these animals are speaking in their own language, and the music and the sound play a huge part. I would say a bigger part than most films, because they can have a more room to like express emotion. And but all the films I've done are without dialogue, so it's actually easier for me to work this way. This is kind of where I feel the most comfortable with. But yeah, I did want to leave like some clues about like what happened to the people in this world. I didn't want to explain it with words or to like give like a long expositionary kind of backstory to that. I wanted the audience to kind of figure it out for themselves and just focus on the animal characters because I think this makes the story a lot more intense and emotional than like seeing it happening to people in this case. So yeah, this was from the get-go, like the condition and all the producers and the financiers. I was so surprised that they really like got along, really trusted me to do this because yeah, it's a big risk, it's a big swing, but I think in like this kind of an independent production, we have more freedom to like take bigger risks like this.
Hmm. Is there anything additional that you want people to get out of this that maybe that you think that people are and now picking up on as an extra theme or feeling that they should get here? What are people discussing most here?
Um, So I don't know, like I wish just people see the film for themselves, and hopefully it doesn't need that much explanation.
Hmm.
Like I wanted to leave some like room for ambiguity, like to allow people to kind of think what everything means for themselves instead of kind of spoon feeding all the like the very direct information. I like that there's some like questions being asked. But yeah, it is like I also don't want to like give like the message before people have seen the film,
Hmm.
but it is like a personal story, and it is about kind of figuring out how to collaborate and how to trust others. But at the same time, it's also showing that it's important to stay independent and not just to follow the crowd, and to hopefully find a balance between these two kind of extremes.
Yeah. Well, and what a full circle thing because you did it. And now, of course, you're getting nominations, and I know there's more coming, and it's just got to be such a gratifying feeling just knowing that was kind of the theme of the story, right?
Yeah, it is. It's crazy. I don't know. Like, I wasn't trying to make a film that would like, I don't know, trying to like make a film for everyone. I was just trying to make a film that I would enjoy. That yeah, but it somehow has found its kind of universal appeal. I think that's actually the key to actually, if you try to please everyone, if you try to win the awards, and if you're trying to like make something like very huge, you're less likely to succeed. But if you're actually trying to like be honest, I keep returning to this word, but yeah, if you're trying to make something that's like for a very specific audience that doesn't try to like make things to like somewhat generic or kind of too polished. If there are some kind of like personal kind of nuances that make it more specific, I think that helps it to kind of actually stand out from the crowd. Because I feel like there's like all these huge films which feel quite similar, and it's really like in this more independent kind of filmmaking area that we find all kinds of exciting stuff happening nowadays.
Yeah, good. Well, last thing, after this, I cannot wait to see what you've got next for us. What are you working on next?
Well, I just finished this film in May, and I've been very busy promoting it, but I have started writing my next film, and it's actually the first time I'm using some dialogue. But it's still a very visual film, so we only use the dialogue where it's really necessary. But yeah, it's still it's again a personal story to me. It's there are some like techniques that we used in Flow, which are like this very complicated camera choreography and very long shots. And I kind of want to push this technique a lot further in my next film, in ways that animation hasn't really like done before. But yeah, I still want to make it in our studio in Latvia and possibly work with other partners as well. But yeah, I kind of want to stay in that independent area and try where I do feel we can like have more freedom and tell personal stories.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Well, thank you so much for making the film. It's been one of the great surprises of the award season and one of our favorite films of the year. So we'll look forward to telling everybody else to check it out. And looking forward to seeing you soon, hopefully at the awards.
Thank you so much. I really
Okay.
appreciate it.